Welcome to Son of a Binge, the channel where we tear apart worlds that others have built. This is every show I've ever watched. You can call me Sunny, and today we're talking about... Let's talk about Betty Boop. Betty Boop was a character created in 1930. She was first created as what I can only describe as a furry, which is an animal that has human-like characteristics. They claim she's a human mixed with a French poodle, but you can be the judge of that yourself. Now, after her very first appearance, they quickly redesigned her to be 100% human. Betty Boop is regarded as one of the first and best known sex symbols on the animated screen. This proves that men will sexualize anything, because not only was she 16 years old, when Betty Boop was on the air, there was a motion picture production code that heavily censored media, especially sex in the media. Betty Boop's background is that she's a teenage girl who left home because her parents were strict, so she ran away with her boyfriend Bimbo. This is Bimbo. Bimbo's drawn as a dog, and even though Betty Boop started as a furry, one of the rules of the production code is that you cannot show a relationship between people and animals. So in Betty Boop, they are not in a relationship. Bimbo will show up and save her sometimes, usually after he puts her in danger in the first place. After he saves her, she'll be like, my hero, but that's as far as it goes. I didn't even realize that Bimbo was a reoccurring character because a lot of the characters at the beginning of Betty Boop are animals, and she's the only human. But every time Bimbo comes back, he tries to win her over. It's kind of canon. It's almost like he's fighting to get her back, even though, according to the rules, he can't. Now let's talk about the episodes. I'm just going to be honest, the storylines are shallow and weird, as most old cartoons are. There's a lot of repetition in the animation. They also love to make machines do something harder than it would normally take. The episodes are about 6 minutes long, so they aren't very complex. There are 3 types of episodes. Number 1, a little day in the life of Betty Boop kind of story. She's at home, usually with her dog, and something happens around the house. The house always gets destroyed. Number 2 is when Betty Boop goes on a little adventure and there's always some men or monster trying to touch her, and then a man usually rescues her and saves the day. The last type of episode is when Betty Boop is either on a stage or in a show performing, you guessed it, for men. People like to say Betty Boop was a feminist icon because she said no when she was being harassed by men. She's not the first woman to ever say no, and you're not a feminist icon just for saying no. The storylines always have her being harassed by men, but she and the creators do nothing to help teach them that, hey, this is wrong. You shouldn't approach women like this. The creators take every opportunity to put her in a situation where she has to be rescued, or shows the viewers how terrible of a housewife she is. The only time the creators let her succeed on her own is when she is on stage performing. The men who created Betty Boop did not intend for her to be a feminist icon. People like to say that Betty Boop was based off of a black actress. This is partially true. Betty Boop was created as a character of Helen Kane. Now, Helen Kane saw a black child actress and singer by the name of Baby Esther. Kane saw her perform in 1928. Now, by 1930, Kane had already added a lot of Esther's persona to her own performance. So just like TikTok creators, she actually got a lot of what she was doing from black creators. The show was rooted in 1930, so there is a lot of racism still tied into several episodes. So much racism that I refuse to believe that Betty Boop was ever really portrayed after a black woman. She was portrayed after a white woman who stole a lot of her performance from a black woman. Betty Boop gets a lot more power than she would have if she was based on a black woman, so I don't believe it. You can see how black characters are both drawn and targeted in the next clip. The last thing people say is that Betty Boop shaped animation and storytelling, but if you were a marginalized person watching now or even 80 years ago, the show is very obviously made for the straight white male gaze and nobody else. Every other person is not represented, and if they are, they get mocked in the show. Here are some other examples of how marginalized groups were portrayed.
In the head is a feather from a goose. It's a goose, it's a goose, but I'm an Indian. Oi, 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 I'm an Indian sport.
Push 'em up at the swing the musica. Ooh-wah, 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 ooh-wah.
After all this research, I just feel like the show might have caused more harm than good, because every show after has been able to piggyback and say that Betty Boop has portrayed marginalized groups as dirty and dumb, so why can't I? It's worked for so long, why can't I do it? But just imagine if this show, who apparently shaped storytelling so well, imagine if the show portrayed everybody in a respectful way. Imagine how media today would be so much more evolved than it currently is. Since Betty Boop was the beginning, imagine if at the beginning they just, the bar's on the ground, respect everybody. We would have an entirely different media today. Now, based on all of the comments I could see on YouTube videos when I was doing this research, nobody's gonna agree with me, but I cannot give Betty Boop a high score at all, so it's 1 out of 5 stars. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. The only unproblematic thing about this show is Betty Boop's dog, Pudgy. That's it. Thanks for staying till the end. Come back next episode where we pick up a different show, throw it on the ground, rip it apart, and do all of this all over again. See ya.